with the Olympics on the horizon, there will be some great stories coming up from around the world, some great stories of perseverance and people getting through like insurmountable odds and all sorts of interesting stories, but we would sometimes call them heroes. And it's an interesting conversation we had coming out of the newsroom because we started talking about how much we elevate people, and surprisingly, as the sports guy, you're not so big on the heroes.
You would think, wouldn't you, that as a sports guy that I would be, excited about that potential of putting people up high on the pedestal or podium, I guess, as it were. I got into this debate actually on social media not that long ago. Well, it was actually the last Winter Olympics when Sidney Crosby scored the golden goal. And I get a little disturbed at times when you see the rampant nationalism that becomes part of sport. And you start taking someone who, I don't know about you guys, and I don't want to paint with a huge broad brush, but in my years as a sports person and as someone who's participated in sports, those who go on to the professional level, granted, they have worked hard, the physicality is there, all that type of stuff, but when you put them into hero status, I don't know if that's such a good thing to do from a societal point of view. And from a role model point of view, yeah, you can aspire to certain things in this world, and if it's athletics, great. But the term hero,
why do you have so much trouble with that word? Like, is there a certain kind of person that you have in mind, or a certain kind of action?
That's where I think the term gets thrown out so loosely, and I think it should be really reserved for. I can't even really think right now of who I would.
Well, Superman, obviously.
I don't know who I would quantify as being a hero. And so when people were, saying that word as, to describe Sidney Crosby, I just flippantly put
really
out on Facebook.
Under your skin, eh?
Yeah, I flippantly put out, well, did Sidney Crosby cure cancer today?
I don't think he did.
No, and I know I was, and you know what? I was being maybe kind of an old curmudgeon when I did do that. But boy, did it spark a flurry of angry responses.
Well, sure. I mean, people. I think that it's important for young people to have mentors that are in the athletics. I think that especially in a society where we aren't putting enough emphasis on our health and getting enough sleep and eating well and all these things, if my kids can attach themselves to a professional swimmer or a professional gymnast, or I guess if they have to be a basketball player, then that'd be okay too. But there is that danger where they flip over, and that person is just, you start idolizing that person for what?
What if instead of focusing on athletics, like Sidney Crosby scoring the goal, that was within the realm of athletics, what if we were to look outside of it? Like, what if the professional athlete were to use their wealth and their power for something good? I'm just looking specifically at about 3 or 4
So make your case. So you think that there are heroes in the athletics?
I think that there's the potential to be, but it should be outside the realm of sport. That, like, just because they're not, well, okay, let me just, okay. Famous Major League pitcher, CC Sabathia, who has a massive fortune, he has I think a $160 million contract with the Yankees right now. However, the year after he signed it, he took he bought 10,000 turkeys for the place
like
where
the people or the animal?
He bought turkeys, the animal. For families in California, and then gave those to the poor families in California where he grew up.
That was a totally heroic tax deduction on his part.
Okay, you can look at it like that. But anyways, I'm not even per se saying he's a hero, but I'm saying something like that is more heroic than scoring a goal. Yeah.
But you're also giving up a lot of your life though to be like, if you're going to the Olympics, like, you are giving up.
I think the term is so subjective, because I think a hero to one person is not a hero. It's dependent on your beliefs, your values, and things like that. And a lot of, in cases with athletes, these athletes come from, well, not always, but in certain cases they come from small towns, right? You hear the term hometown hero. Right. And like it's Megan Imrie from Falcon Lake who is competing in this Olympics. She's a hero for everybody in that town, right? And I don't know. I think it's very subjective, and it's interesting to look at that perspective too. Just coming from a place, she she's a hero because she's from that place, and I don't know. They feel a connection to her, maybe. I don't know what it is, but
I like that example, but I don't like the criteria because I'm from a small town too, and it seemed like anyone who even got close to maybe even trying out for the NHL or the WHL was like hero, 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 and like some of these hockey guys did not deserve that status in the least. So I see what you're saying. Then where do we find the heroes today then? Where are, I mean, you have kids. Where are they finding their heroes? Do you have heroes? Does anyone, have you ever? Like, I don't even know.
And that's just it.
Yeah,
I
role model
think,
seems so much of a better
tag.
Yeah, and maybe that's where it needs to be labeled exactly, because the hero bar, especially I think in North America, has really come down to celebrities.
And money. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why, again, how great was it when Mr. Hadfield at least was elevated into celebrity status? Someone, you know, where he's obviously got a philanthropic approach to life. He's got intelligence. He you know, and has achieved something so monumental and was willing to share it so willingly.
Yeah.
Not maybe even still a hero, but at least the bar was raised a little bit. Because I always look back at, again, from the sports angle, the 24/7 series, where Ilya Bryzgalov was made fun of relentlessly, Russian goaltender at the time playing for the Philadelphia Flyers, was made fun of because of his brain. And he was reading books.
He was smart? Okay.
Yeah, he was reading books. He knew so much about history and certain things, and he had a sense of humor about it. And sure, some of it was a little, you know, lost in translation for sure. But he grew up in a place, Russia, where heroes are composers, they're cosmonauts, they're authors.
Yeah.
You know?
That sounds nice. I think that selflessness comes in the criteria.
I haven't said much because it's incredibly frustrating for me. I mean,
because you're a comic book guy, so you have lots of heroes.
It has nothing to do with, and maybe that's true, right? But maybe if you look at every day, like those heroes, they're not real. You know, they're written about, but they put their life on the line. They put themselves in harm's way to save somebody else. We have those people. They're called doctors, or they're called firefighters, they're called police officers. Those are heroes. I think it's great. I mean, I was downstairs in the basement wearing a Canada jersey when Crosby scored the goal, and I was like, if he scores this goal, he's going to be prime minister. And it was like, you know, a great moment. Did I think he was a hero? No. Did I think he's good at his job? Yes. Do I think that's impressive? Awesome. I like people do the same thing with like mixed martial artists, just to go to another sport. I respect the work that they do, but I don't hero worship them. I don't think, I'm like, wow, they're so great because they beat the crap out of that other guy, right? I respect the determination they have to stay fit, to study, and be the best in their field. But being the best at something does not make you selfless and heroic. It just makes you better than everyone else. And that's what I find a lot of sports people end up being like, is they've been elevated to a status of, oh, I'm gonna do this because you know what's gonna happen when I score this goal? When contract talks come next week or we have the draft, I'm gonna get picked above everybody else. That does not make me a hero, that makes me selfish, not selfless.
And a businessman, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's great. And we're gonna leave it there. Great words to end on. We'll take a quick break.